Alright, sort of response video to conference reports again, just continuing this conversation a little bit. And I figure I'll respond to some of these comments, which some of them I didn't like too much. But anyway, this first one, new, well, whatever, 1618. Yes, good. Life acquired the ability to think only after and as a result of the ability to sense and feel. Right, so I've said that too. Could be that selfishness is a characteristic impulse which motivates action. Yeah, so I wouldn't say it that way, though. I wouldn't call it selfishness. I would call it subjectivity. Preferences, desires, drives, prejudices, conditioning, all that kind of subjective personality disposition. Yeah, that's what we have to work through. So anything, I'm still going to argue our brain is not, some people I guess just live. They just don't even think about how they think. But if you give how you think any thought, you can sort of see this separation. There's an impulse created inside of you, a feeling, a want, a desire, and then there's this brain that starts calculating. What does it mean? What are the consequences? What's the context of this action you're going to commit? Are you a shithead, or are you doing a good thing, or do you be a selfish asshole? I mean, it's making those equations. It's passing judgment, and it's there. And the only way it can get you to stop doing something is it has to create some subjective impulse, some motivator. So the motivation is all subjective. The only way we can make anything happen is we have to have a subjective feeling push us, some sense of honor or self-respect or guilt. All these emotional words have to be used to get us to do something. But we can think in terms of principles and ideals and perfection and all these words that our personality will never be able to manifest, because it's still an ape. It's still tied to all that evolution shit, where our intelligence is tied to the meme evolution. So it's biological evolution versus intelligence evolution, the evolution of knowledge and understanding. And those two are in conflict. People can say otherwise, but there's a dramatic conflict between these personalities. There is that little angel and that little devil thing. It's a silly metaphor, but it's there. It's inside of us. And the devil is our selfish, crude, individualistic, egocentric nature. And the angel is this intelligence thing that can know better, can see farther, can understand in a much grander and greater context, can value things completely separate from the crude values of the subjective beast. Okay, anyway, that went longer than I wanted. If so, it seems that the progress of memetics will wean this out, because collective organization is the only way to sustain human life right now. Well, sustaining life and quality of life, this is always another part of this thing. This is sort of the background noise that we never define this premise before we even start a discussion. Because obviously, to me, people are valuing two different things. Some people value survival and say, we survived, therefore we were a success, therefore we can put a gold star on our tombstone for the human race and say, bravo, because it succeeded. Because it survived. By my standards, by what my intelligence would value, that doesn't mean shit. Okay, surviving with slaves, owning slaves, is not success. Surviving if 40% of the population is sacrificed for the 60%, well, that's not success. If there's too high a price paid for it, it's not a good deal. It's not worth buying. I wouldn't pick it off the store shelf and say I want one of those, because the damn price is too high. The fact that we were willing to buy it doesn't impress me. It still had too high a price, so it's still failure in my book, dismal failure. Then this idea that we're going to, our memes are somehow going to evolve our biology out of us. It's another argument I think goes nowhere, because ideas, they are creeping. They are gaining a degree of ownership of humanity, slow but sure. We got over the flat earth, and we got over some of the religion, and we got over some of the bullshit, but there's still a ton of it there. I mean, we're not burning witches, but we're still glued to insane ideologies, and attached to traditions, stupid traditions, uh, ways of viewing the world that aren't evolved in terms of their intelligence. They're still very crude, very basic to humans needing ego gratification, needing to be, have their nipples twitched and such. So there's still a hell of a lot of that going on. And look who's breeding in the population. Again, this is the reality we got to face, is that intelligence, the more capable you are of doing the meme evolution, of getting the meme thing, of having lots of memes thrown into your brain, the more sterile you're going to become. Not sterile in the physical sense, but sterile in the practical sense. You're just not going to be planting a lot of seed once you understand your role, and you understand there's too many people, and you understand the dynamics that are demanding this sustainable life thing equation change. Those aren't the people who are breeding, so game over in that sense. Until the mean people start telling the selfish bastards how to live, forcing them to live by some sort of meme knowledge, to live up to a higher standard of behavior and conduct, fuck it, it's not working. Intelligence can detect this truth. Yeah, well, exactly. Intelligence can, but it's not, obviously, in the population that's breeding. The population that's breeding has no concept of that intelligence. All they have a concept of is, I want kids, I want to see a little me running around, I need to project somehow myself into the future. They're just insane. No other word for it. It's crazy ass nonsense they're caught up in. Somehow they can't define their own personal success unless they somehow impregnate a woman. Somehow that defines their, whatever you want to call it, their macho-ness, or whatever the right word is. I'm arguing that selfishness is no longer advantageous, though it may be too late to turn around. Yeah, what's maybe too late is good, and I would also say, again, no longer advantageous is a tricky word. I don't think selfishness was ever advantageous to anything but us surviving. It didn't have a damn thing to do with the quality of the life. So, I just can't. It's never been productive. It's always been destructive. It's a destructive force. Yeah, okay, it made it possible for us to out-selfish the other beasties and survive, but that survival doesn't mean anything if we're not capable of doing anything with the survival. And it seems quite obvious we're incapable of doing anything with it besides making more messes and creating more suffering. We're not improving the condition of consciousness on planet Earth. It's not happening. Okay, next guy. I agree, selfish is not emotional. We are all selfish. Altruism is selfishness with a chance of later reciprocation. Yeah, but there is an angle here. Conference report guy did ask me the direct question, do I think anything is unselfish? And, it gets convoluted, but I'm going to say yes, I do. I do think it's possible. But it's possible in a really strange circumstance. And like I said, because you still have to go through the subjective animal. And the subjective animal is feeding off of some desire to be good, some desire to perceive themselves in a pleasant way. I mean, I guess even a serial killer is getting off on some kind of ego thing, like I'm the best serial killer, or I'm the best this, and so there's some sort of ego gratification in committing this very negative act that they can justify because it fed their ego. And so if I let's, there's just so many calculations, and they're all calculations. Let's say I kill a little 5-year-old kid drunk one day, and so my whole life I'm living kind of guilt-ridden. And then an opportunity presents itself where I can run into a burning building and I can save a 5-year-old kid. Now I have this chance at redemption. So now I'm going to have this. It's going to be a positive feeling motivating me. I mean, a negative one, guilt. that that my brain is going to create. It's going to create this idea that I can compensate now, and that the idea that I can make up for something, I can clean that slate, is what's going to be motivating me. So it's going to be selfishness motivating me, but the concept, the idea was not selfish. It was just logical and reasonable, that this is how you can fix a brokenness. So the idea is altruistic. The thinking can be altruistic. It still has to work through this selfish organism. So I guess ideally I could say that your brain can become so disciplined, your subjective self can be so admiration, it can have so much admiration for your intelligence that it will do whatever it says without judgment, without having to feel anything anymore. It'll just say, well, whatever my thinking smart brain tells me is the right thing to do, I will do, and I will not even consider how I feel about that. I won't allow an emotion to even arise in me. I will just mechanically do the thing. And so I suppose under that ideal circumstance there would be no subjective selfish